If someone has told Chioma that the very woman she called a sister would one day destroy her home, she would have laughed and called it a lie. Because to Chioma, Ada was more than a friend. She was family. And who would ever believe that family could turn into an enemy? Chioma and Ada's story began many years ago in secondary school. They were both young, ambitious, and full of dreams. They studied together, defended each other from bullies, and swore they would remain sisters forever. Time passed, and though life took them in different directions, they never allowed distance to break their bond. Chioma got married to Emeka, a hard-working man who loved her deeply. They built a beautiful home together, blessed with 2 children. Ada, on the other hand, struggled through life. She lost her job, had a broken relationship, and found herself with nowhere to go. When Chioma heard of Ada's trouble, her heart melted. She could not allow her best friend to suffer. Without even asking her husband, she made the decision. Ada, come and stay with us until you find your feet again. My home is your home. When she later told Emeka about her plan, he did not complain. If she is a sister, then she is my sister too, he said gently. Chioma felt blessed to have such an understanding man. Ada moved in. At first, everything seemed perfect. She laughed with the children, cooked delicious meal, and even helped with the cleaning. Chioma was grateful, telling everyone that Ada was truly a sister. What she did not know was that the snake she had welcomed was slowly warming itself by her fire. Days turned into a week, and subtle changes began to appear. Ada started dressing in revealing clothes inside the house. When Emeka returned from work, she would be the first to greet him, sometimes hugging him a little too tightly. At night, during dinner, she laughed loudly at his jokes, touching his arm as though she was the wife. Chioma noticed these things, but she brushed them off. She told herself, Ada is just being free. She would never betray me. Not Ada. After all, wasn't this the same Ada who stood by her during her wedding? Wasn't this the same Ada who carried her first child on her back like an aunt? But the truth was already unfolding before her eyes. One Saturday evening, Emeka and Ada sat in the sitting room watching a comedy show. Their laughter echoed through the house. Chioma passed by and saw the way Ada placed her hand on Emeka's shoulder. Her heart skipped, but she forced a smile. Everything is fine, she whispered to herself. But everything wasn't fine. The whispers began. Neighbors noticed how often Ada accompanied Emeka on errands. Sometimes they saw them in the car, laughing together like lovers. One evening, a neighbor asked Chioma, "Your sister Ada, are you sure she's just a friend?" Chioma smiled and defended her. No. Ada is not like that. She is my blood. But late at night, doubts began to creep into Chioma's mind. She started watching closely. She began to feel uneasy whenever she saw Emeka and Ada together. One night around midnight, Chioma woke up and found Ada's bed empty. Fear gripped her chest. She tiptoed through the corridor, her heart pounding like a drum. From the sitting room came soft whispers and quiet laughter. Her feet shook as she crept closer. And then she saw it. Emeka and Ada were sitting too close, their faces inches apart, their smiles too intimate. It was not the laughter of friends. It was the laughter of 2 people sharing a secret. Chioma froze on the staircase, her throat dried, her hands trembling. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run into the room and scatter everything. But her body betrayed her, and she stood there watching the betrayal unfold. Slowly, she turned back to her room. She locked the door and buried her face in her pillow. Tears soaked her cheeks as she whispered, God, don't let my home scatter. Don't let the friend I called sister become my enemy. But deep down she knew this was only the beginning of her nightmare. Chioma could not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ada's smile and Emeka's laughter. She tossed and turned, asking herself questions she could not answer. Was I imagining it? Or was there truly something between them? The next morning, she acted normal. She served breakfast as if nothing had happened. Emeka kissed her on the forehead before leaving for work, and Ada waved at him cheerfully. Chioma forced a smile, but her stomach twisted in pain. For days, she watched silently. She noticed how Emeka's eyes lingered on Ada when she walked past. She noticed how Ada began to spend more time dressing up, even when there was nowhere to go. Sometimes Ada perfume filled the house so strongly, it was as if she was trying to announce her presence. One evening, while Chioma was in the kitchen preparing dinner, she overheard them talking in the sitting room. Ada's voice was low, almost teasing. Emeka, you work too hard. If Chioma doesn't take care of you well enough, I will. Chioma froze, her hands trembling on the spoon. And then came Emeka's laughter. A laughter that stabbed her like a knife. She stormed out of the kitchen, but by the time she entered the sitting room, Ada had quickly adjusted herself. Both of them looked innocent, as though nothing had happened. Is the food ready? Emeka asked casually, and Chioma could only nod. The next night, Chioma confronted Ada privately. Ada, what is going on between you and my husband? She asked, her eyes burning. Ada gasped, pretending to be shocked. Chioma, how could you even say that? Your husband? Ah, God forbid. You know me better than this. Her voice shook, and she even wiped fake tears from her eyes. Chioma's heart softened. She felt guilty for doubting her friend. Forgive me, Ada. Maybe it is just my mind playing tricks on me, she whispered. But Ada's crocodile tears hide the dangerous truths. Days later, Emeka began coming home late. When Chioma asked him where he had been, he always gave the same answer. Work was stressful. Traffic held me back. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. One Saturday afternoon, Chioma decided to surprise Emeka at his office. She prepared his favorite meal and carried it in a food flask. But when she arrived, the security guard looked confused. Madam, Oga no dey office today. He left with a lady since morning. Chioma's hand shook so badly she almost dropped the food. What lady? She asked in fear. The guard scratched his head. She fine well. Tall, slim. She resembled that your sister where they stay with you. Chioma's world collapsed. Her nails went weak and tears filled her eyes. She thanked the guard and walked away, her heart breaking every step she takes. That night, she did not mention it to Emeka. She simply watched him eat the food she has cooked, pretending everything was normal. Her children laughed and played. Ada hummed a song as she walked past, and Emeka smiled as if nothing was wrong. But Chioma's heart was in pieces. One rainy evening, Chioma's worst fear came true. She returned home earlier than usual because the shop she managed had closed early. As she stepped into the compound, she heard strange sound from inside the house. Her body went cold. Quietly, she walked to the window and peeped inside. What she saw shattered her completely. Emeka and Ada locked in each other's arm on a matrimonial bed. Chioma let out a scream that shook the entire house. Both of them jumped up, panic written on their faces. Chioma, Chioma, it is not what you think, Emeka stammered. But Chioma was shaking from head to toe, her tears mixing with the rain that poured outside. Ada tried to speak, but Chioma's voice thundered, "Get out! Both of you! Get out of my sight!" Our children ran into the room, confused and crying. Chioma gathered them in her arms, shielding them from the scene. That night, she locked herself in the children's room, her heart bleeding with betrayal. The man she loved had stabbed her. The sister she trusted had poisoned her home. But Chioma swore one thing in her pain. They may think they have won, but this story is not over. Not yet. The night Chioma caught them was the longest night of her life. She sat in the children's room, hugging her two little ones as they cried, while her heart burned with anger and betrayal. Every whisper of the rain outside reminded her of Ada's laughter. Every tick of the clock reminded her of Emeka's lies. By morning, she made a decision. She would not allow anyone to see her break. She came out of the room calm, her face pale but strong. Ada avoided her eyes, shame written all over her face. Emeka tried to speak.
Please, can we talk about this?
But Chioma raised her hand. Save your word. You have already killed me with your actions. She packed Ada's clothes into a bag and threw it at her feet. Ada, get out of my house. Today our sisterhood ends. You are nothing but a snake I felled with my own hands. Ada knelt down, pretending to cry. Chioma, forgive me. It was a mistake. But Chioma's voice thundered. A mistake that's happened on my bed? A mistake you have been planning for months? Her words cut through the room like fire. Ada picked up her bag and left, never looking back. But Emeka was not ready to let go. For days, he followed Chioma around the house, begging for forgiveness. Chioma, I was weak. I didn't mean to hurt you. You are my wife, the mother of my children. Please, don't throw our marriage away. Chioma looked at him with eyes full of pain. You didn't just hurt me, Emeka. You destroyed my trusts. And once trust is broken, love begins to die. Yet, she stayed silent. She needed time to think. Weeks passed, but the wound in her heart only grew deeper. One afternoon, while at the market, she overheard two women gossiping. Have you heard? That lady, Ada, is pregnant. They say the father is a married man. Chioma's body froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Pregnant? Could it be Emeka? She rushed home, trembling. That night, she confronted him. Emeka, tell me the truth. Is Ada carrying your child? He looked away, his silence louder than any words. Tears streamed down Chioma's face. God! So the betrayal is complete. You not only cheated, you planted a seed inside her. Her screams echoed through the house, and the children began to cry. For the first time, Chioma felt her heart harden. she looked at her husband and said, I will not fight you. If you want Ada, go to her. But know this, I will rise again. You can destroy my marriage, but you cannot destroy me. Days later, Chioma began her decision. She took her children, packed her clothes, and left the house. She went to stay with her elder brother, who welcomed her with open arms. At first, it was difficult. She cried every night. She questioned herself. She asked God why her kindness had been repaid with betrayal. But slowly, Chioma began to heal. She started a small business. She focused on her children, giving them love and care. Her pain became her strength. Months later, the news reached her. Ada had given birth, but things had turned bitter. Emeka and Ada were constantly fighting. The once sweet secret affair had become a nightmare. Neighbors said Emeka regretted everything. They said Ada mocked him, telling everyone, if not for me, he would still be with that boring Chioma. Chioma listened silently, a sad smile on her lips. The very fire they lit to destroy her had now begun to burn them. One evening, as the sun set, Emeka appeared at her brother's house. He looked in, broken and ashamed. Chioma, please, I made the greatest mistake of my life. Ada has ruined me. She never cared about me. She only wanted my money. Please take me back. Forgive me. Tears filled Chioma's eyes, but she shook her head. Emeka, I forgave you long ago, not for your sake, but for my peace. But I will never forget. You lost me the moment you betrayed me with my best friend. Some wounds can never heal. Emeka knelt down, weeping, but Chioma turned away. She had found her strength. As she locked her children into bed that night, she whispered softly, I may have lost a husband. I may have lost a friend, but I have not lost myself. And that is the greatest victory of all. And so Chioma rose from the arches of betrayal stronger, wiser, and free. Because sometimes losing everything is the only way to truly find yourself. The end. Thank you for staying with me to the end of this story. If you enjoy my story, hit the subscribe button. See you in the next story. Bye for now.